This is my first event, first ever, on a panel today. We're going to speak about YouTube and streaming for professionals. I know, they asked me, it's crazy. Just like my streams, I'm going to be showing up right to my own stream channel.
Can we get a zoom up of the
beat,
like really get in there? Like I'm gonna go in. That's dripping down the fingers. See that? Deep breaths in, deep breaths out. Find our zen.
It's hard to do that, man. Like,
it's true. It's true.
You guys came to like, and then now it's out in front.
So to begin, if I could have each of these guys introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what type of content you create.
Sure. So my background is actually in digital merchandising. I've built the brands for Logan Paul, Mr. Beast, Ninja, all the top 1%ers. I started there in merchandising, but also used my friendships with them and business relationships to leverage my own Twitch stream, networking, how you grow that way. I'm a Twitch partner. I've been a Twitch partner for about 1.5 years now. I started about 4 years ago on the platform, so I do that as well as I've helped start a company here in Columbus called eFuse, and we build and connect gamers to opportunities and are working on connecting K through 12 to collegiate scholarships and activating colleges in the collegiate scene in terms of building out those leagues so schools can be in recruiting, building more teams, building more genres into it, and make it less of a club sport, more into an actual legitimate gaming kind of conference. So those are my 3 pillars that I fall under.
Awesome. My name is Alex Stewart. I'm a local here to Columbus, Ohio. A few years ago, I started on Facebook Gaming as a content creator and streamer. My best friend, my business partner here, Alex Rogers, is here. Him and I started a social media photography and videography service for clients and consumers, and we kind of used our skills, and I kind of pivoted off that to start streaming on Facebook a couple years ago. I know Facebook's kind of, the Facebook rivalry with Twitch, but on top of the streaming, it's kind of what I've focused on is taking it as a brand. A lot of people with streaming have that hurdle of how to present themselves and how to make themselves like legible, and you want to have a brand presence. It's almost like a job. So I've been focusing on trying to make my Mr. Melee as a brand and kind of spread out across social media platforms. I also went and created a gaming community here on Facebook and Discord called the Columbus Gaming Community. So if you're local and you want to connect with other streamers and other gamers, party with your favorite games, it's a great place to check it out. But yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, so I'm Katie Hamill online. I'm Ellen Torrey. I'm a art streamer, really. So my full-time job is digital art creation. I do art for games, children's books, freelance art, like comics, you name it. Most of my streaming centers around drawing and teaching while I draw, and sometimes playing Minecraft when we have to do something else.
Yeah, I mean we're all here for the same reason. We love gaming and we want to do more in gaming. If you guys are in here, you're interested or already doing some kind of streaming, and so the reason I got started a couple of years ago because, as I said, my business partner and I were working with brands and developing brands and using some of those skills. I saw an opportunity to apply that to one of my passion hobbies. I love gaming. It was a way to release, and it was a way to connect with others and strangers and to help their days, like you were saying. A lot of people come to a stream. Not everybody even engages in a chat. They just want to watch. They just want to release. And so being there for other people, kind of people person myself, so that was kind of a natural thing. It was just a way to use my hobby and reach other people and have a good time. And then that led to creating the Columbus Gaming Community for the same thing, for the larger people looking to connect. But yeah, for the last 2 years, it's been a lot of learning and mistakes, and you learn from those mistakes, and it helps to connect and network with other streamers who have been there and done things, and so you have to have somewhat of a thick skin to be able to pursue. It's really, sometimes it can be a lonely experience because you're sitting there and you're trying to figure out things on your own. You're trying to set up a community, you're going live, and you're putting your heart and soul into it, and nobody's watching, who cares, right? And that's hard to get that. You want that. You know, everybody wants that they feel like if they put something good out, someone's going to watch it, someone's going to care about it. So you have to have a bit of a thick skin, but like Mitch was saying, or Vic was saying, we've got to put ourselves in the middle of that. You can't. I did the same mistake. I went live 5 days a week during COVID because I'm like, we're all quarantined. What else are we going to do? But that became a toll on me mentally, and I have a family with kids as well, and it became too much of a struggle to keep myself going. It's like a pendulum of time, and every time it swings, it ignores the rest of what's going on. So to find a healthy balance in your life, it's going to take some time for you. And streaming isn't the only thing you should be doing, and some of that time should be divided, maybe creating content from that Twitch stream to putting clips on other social medias and stuff. We'll talk about that later too, but just when you divide that time up, it also gives a chance that when you're building that community, they have anticipation for when they know you're live. So if you're live all the time, they're like, no problem, I can stop by anytime, it's live all the time. But if you go 3 days, 2 days a week, then they build anticipation to, oh, I don't want to miss that because he's going to play this game or he's going to talk about this or whatever. So there's some things to keep in mind, but it's about finding the balance for yourselves.
And now, 100 episodes later, I sell my own hot sauce. We sell a ton of bottles, about 5 different flavors of commercial hot sauce. So you can see how something so stupid of just like, I like eating hot sauce, and people love to watch me react and freak out eating, you know, the devil's testicles or whatever this next, you know, meal is, right, at this local joint. And it really fed into my content. So a lot of people would come to my stream and be like, dude, I love your Instagram content. And then they'd fall in love with the joy that I was having playing the games that made me happy. So that's a good example of nothing to do with my Twitch stream, but suddenly it's a bucket that's continually filling. And posting on YouTube only gives you more views as people continue to watch.
You have to know yourself when you're going into this. You have to know what is unique about yourself, what is a characteristic or a hobby that you're into. It may not even involve the streaming, like the hot wings, but it could funnel into it, because what you're doing is, what you want to do is cast a big net, because not everyone's going to sit there and be able to watch a 4-hour stream. But if you catch them on Twitter with a quick clip, or you put it on TikTok and you're showing why someone would want to watch you, maybe you're really good at the game you're playing, or you're funny and chill, or you know, whatever, you have something interesting to show off, then that everything's a funnel back to the stream. Oh, catch me on this, catch me on that. A lot of things too you should look into are ways to, a lot of streamers starting out, they might be called, like, I'm Mr. Melee 89, right? But you might be Mr. Melee on one platform, Mr. Melee 01 on another platform, Unify that brand. Make sure it's the same everywhere, so that when someone sees it, they recognize it. You know, if you change something, change it all. Make sure it all unifies into one thing. Another thing you guys should look into is like link trees and things like that, so that if they do catch that YouTube video or that story or whatever, have a way they can easily find everything, so you're right there in their face.
As for content around with art, mine's a little easier. Obviously, I draw the art on streams, I post the art on Instagram, I post the art on Twitter. Sometimes I will take my stream recordings. I make sure every stream I do, it saves a recording of, and then I can condense it into speed paints to go out onto YouTube. Sometimes I will condense speed paints for Patreon. I mentioned before, I've got, as an artist, Patreon is a really good place if you're making content for teaching to also go in there. Even if you're not an artist, a lot of content creators use Patreon just for like early access and stuff. Or behind the scenes looks at your videos or stuff like that. A lot of people like seeing their links to my Patreon names on the YouTube videos. Make sure you give shout outs to people like that.
And what it comes down to, I feel like, is time. How do I grow all these channels at once? You know, a lot of people are trying to do streaming as a hobby on top of a full-time job, on top of family responsibilities. So what we were talking about earlier with like creating a schedule for yourself, you may only have the weekends to work with. So pick a time frame to stream, and then pick the other time you might have been streaming, and focus on creating content out of that stream, and spend your time doing that. When it comes to spreading your net as wide as you can, it also comes down to, where do you find your audience? Are you generating a younger audience? Do you feel like you're kind of all over the place? You know, a lot of Gen Zers, you know, they're like on TikTok and they're on, you know, Snapchat and all that stuff. You know, it's all comes down to, do you know an audience? Are you trying to attract, you know, what crowd are you going after? But like you said, all the ties rise. Try to put yourself out on all of them. I'm guilty of the same thing. Like I really like TikTok because it's quick content, and I created TikTok and then I'm just, you know, pumping out content, and then one of mine took off. Like, it went super viral. Like, I don't understand how viral it went, but and now that's like huge, and that's great. But now it's like, now I look at my other channels and I'm like, oh man, now I need to focus on my Instagram, or now I need to focus on my Twitter. And like you said, sometimes it comes down to time. It's like, sometimes I put out the same content across different platforms, change it up maybe, change the description, maybe edit the content a little differently, and everything has its own ratios, Instagram squares, and you got 9:16 video, and you have all these things. So maybe taking it and just putting it in its preferred, format will help it distribute a little easier on that platform. And like you were saying, how stories are such quick content. If you're interested in like jumping into something new, maybe to gain interest, to see how it goes with the community. Do you have a community that would follow you if you did something like that? Maybe that starts a new channel. Stories are a great way to test that. Like if you want to start a blog, maybe post some more stories, just to see if anybody's interested. If they want to know where you're going to eat, or are they going to know what you're going to try, things like that. But it comes down to that big funnel, that big net. And then decide for yourselves how do you use your time the best way. I think I'm going to take some advice from you guys though, and maybe my main stream that I love is Hunt Showdown, and maybe doing one day that's Friday, or one day where it's like you can have fun with your community one day a month, and they're like, hey, what would you want to see me play, kind of thing, like we're trying something new or whatever. But it's going to be down to, do you want to, because there's challenges for variety streamers, there really are. I like jumping around game to game, especially this time of year. There's so many new things coming out. You want to try everything, you want to stream it, because a lot of the free time that I have to play games is when I'm actually streaming. So I do want to jump around, but it's like a pitfall. It's like, yeah, I'm having fun, because you got to remember, you have to have fun, and it's, you want to try new things, but then you're like, well, but the viewers and just you have to find that balance. And so that schedule you guys have is probably something I'm going to look into. So
community interaction is huge, by the way. Not everybody talks to their viewers. Sometimes I'll do art request streams where it's literally just I'll draw random names from whoever's in chat, and they get to request something they want to see drawn, and then I'll email them out at the end. So any way you can engage with your community is what makes it a community. I mean, honestly, like the more they talk with each other, the more they talk to you, the more they enjoy themselves, the more they'll come back. It doesn't really matter what you're doing at that point. So.
But if you're like feeling that burnout, maybe, and I know this sounds bad in a way, but like, especially with TikTok, I guess, because I'm always like, what do I post with TikTok all the time? It's always something changing, always new trends.
Ask myself that.
Exactly. So look for inspiration. Follow some other streamers. Maybe they post like a meme or a joke, and then there's a way you can spin your content, and it's just a new avenue. Maybe you can try something new with that kind of content. That's a wrap. Well, hope they win something.